I got to do my job.
Do it well.
I have to.
Okay.
We spent a lot of time with Prime on, I think it was Friday.
Yeah.
After the show went to his office, we chopped it up for maybe half an hour, like quite literally just sitting there, just having good conversation, good dialogue, all of the things. He respects what we do on television, so I cannot change. The loss to me, James Jones says that Colorado got to get back to the desert like Michael B. Jordan did in Creed 2. You just get back to the drawing board and grind. Like, no more big news. Yep. No more speak on locations. No more undisputed on locations. Colorado got to put all the flash, all the glitter, all the glamour away. Get back to the grind in the desert. You have to make sure that you're not a $10,000 chain with a $1 clasp. Like, you have to make sure that it is not all glitz and glamour and that y'all really bout that action, because it does not get easier. It's conference play now. Conference play. The only teams that have more than 2 losses with no wins in conference play, Stanford and Arizona State. Okay, that's not the company that you want to keep. It's Colorado. It's time to get back to work. You've had every celebrity and their mama at the game, literally. You've been on every magazine, all of that. But I heard recently, success is also trauma. We only talk about tragedy being trauma, but success is also trauma because it's the reality that you haven't had to deal with. And a lot of players in those locker rooms, a lot of players in that locker room aren't used to all of this. All the attention, all the glitz, all the glamour. So the loss to me says, Colorado, go to the desert, get back to the grind, put away all the gimmicks, all the flash, and just get back to being a really good football team or become a really good football team.
I'm with you on that because I truly believe the reason why they were winning football games early is because they had that dog in them, right? I felt like they were out coaching and out scheming a lot of these teams in the first couple games that they played, the TCUs, the Nebraskas. I felt like they did a really good job of out coaching them. The last couple games, you ran into 2 really good football teams, 2 ranked football teams, 10 and number 8, right? 2 teams that have really been built for a couple years now, right? So this game taught me 2 things. It taught me that they're not far away. And I absolutely love their response in the second half, right? That let me know that Coach Prime went into that locker room and kind of said what you just said. Forget everything that's going on out here, because all this stuff will be gone when you come out here next week. If you don't go out here and perform. The reason why everybody is here, yes, I'm Prime, but I ain't caught 1 touchdown yet. They believe in you guys. We picked them boys in Colorado, in Boulder, to win the game, to upset USC, because we believed in the guys that was on the football field, in Shador and all that, right? We know that they have injuries, right? I believe that is a different game if they are healthy. But with that all being said, I'm encouraged because you didn't look like you looked in Oregon. Right? You came out in the second half and you made this a game, which let me know that you are close to rebuilding this thing the way you want to rebuild it, but you still have a long way to go.
Guys, slow down. Let's slow down a little bit. This is a little bit. Like, what I learned, what I took from the loss was that they're going through their growing pains. I mean, they lost to, let me get this straight, Oregon, that was the 10th team in the country. They're lower now, though, right? And Oregon has been good for a long period of time. Solid recruits. They have a system there, right? They've been running. Okay, that's one thing. So they lost a really, really good team for a lot of years.
No doubt.
Then USC, all they do is get the top recruits. And every year they're good. So Rome wasn't built in a year. It wasn't built in a day.
No.
Coach Prime, I think we're looking at it in a different light because who he is and what he's brought there. And growing is part of everything, right? Like, all the great players, all the great coaches, all the great teams, they go through this. From Michael Jordan to Steph Curry and the Warriors to LeBron James, things, they build it. And I think they're on the right path. The one thing I will say from watching the game the last 2 weeks, they gotta first of all, they need to be more disciplined. And on all the details, small things, right? Like, I've seen maybe 4 to 5 times in the game where a wide receiver catches the ball. Instead of catching it and turning upfield, he's zigzagging on left. And now it's 3rd and 2, 4th and 1. So that part of small detail coaching. Another thing, tackling. I've seen a lot of grabbing, pulling. You got to wrap and tackle. Right? And this happened before in the pros. You got to get back to the basics. And I think that's one thing when I watched the Colorado team is they have to be more disciplined. I think that the recruits will come. I think the growing pains, the losses will come because that's how you learn. Right? Those are all lessons. I think they'll be better and better and better. But the small things that I did peep out and see this last week is that they need to focus on the small details.
The details. Well said.
I don't know. I feel very differently about that game from you guys. I think if Travis Hunter plays in that game, they win.
Ooh.
Shiloh was out also. I understand USC was without Zachariah Branch. They found out that he wasn't going to be out there. He plays on the offensive side of the ball, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the USC defense for a second. Because Travis Hunter is going to play both sides of the ball if he's there. USC gave up season worst 41 points, season worst 564 yards, season worst 371 passing yards, allowed a season worst 6.3 yards per play, and a season worst 50% on third down percentage.
Right.
Travis Hunter's not out there.
You got a point.
I think they win that game.
You got a point.
And if they beat USC, we're having a whole different conversation about the season. Now, they didn't, so we're having the conversation that we're having. But I don't think they're that far away. So either USC is nowhere near as good as we think they are, because all those numbers happen without their best player on both sides of the ball out there healthy.
Yeah, well,
and one of their best tacklers in Shiloh.
And one of their best tacklers in Shiloh. So USC wasn't 100%, and neither was Colorado.
Majority of that game, this is being honest, it was a large margin, right? A lot of 21, majority of the team is 21, right? They would score back. 21 point margin. Yeah. So I'm just thinking about, like, as an offense, our coach is now thinking, okay, we're up by this much. Let's slow the game down, take our time to run the ball.
Get out the game.
Where the other team's like, yo, we trying to score.
Get out of the game. They just got out of the game.
But I'm saying that the plays are called different, right? Because when they first kicked off, they was going up and down the field. I'm just being honest. I'm going for Colorado.
I hear you, but nobody was nervous in that building at the end of that game?
I think USC
was at one point
it was 34-7.
But you got to play the whole game. You got to play the whole game.
I know, but what I'm saying is that it was that margin the whole game, right? And then as the game got to the end, as an offense, you have a playbook, you have a game sheet. What if we're going to run? When you get about 34-7, it's like, what are we going to run now? Let's slow the game down.
I'll put it like this: there wasn't a moment that once the game kicked off, 2 minutes into the game, there wasn't a point where I thought Colorado was going to win.
How do you explain these defensive numbers?
Shador played well. To Shady's point, because Shady and I watched the whole game together, and I was like, hey, Shady, Shador had 5 touchdowns. Shador had more total yards than Caleb. He said, come on, Acho. He said, Shador played well, but he's like,
Caleb played better. There's no question about this.
He said, come on, Acho, in the sense of, if you watch the game, it was like, which we all did, because I was like, hey, I did what you did. I was like, hey,
Shador played well.
The game too. What I'm saying is, either USC is not like that, and we're about to find out when they go up against some of these other teams, because their defense is
their defense is not good.
The defense is not good.
What are we talking
about? They were up by 41-14.
Yeah,
it was blouses. Yeah. Like it was. So let's say that happens against a team that's not Colorado, right? They're a team that we think could possibly have beat USC because nobody thought that going in. The game went the way it went, and then they still lost. You feel we're having the same conversation about USC?
I don't think a top team is going to be 41-14.
So USC doesn't take the foot off.
But even with that being said, this ain't the pros. We talked about that, right? College is about style points. We just seen Oregon put 80 on Portland State. So you can't tell me that USC was just like, hey man, all we want to score is 40.
No.
You got to give Colorado some credit.
They were average.
But you got to give Colorado some credit coming out of the halftime, making the halftime adjustments to be able to even get themselves back in that ball.
I give Colorado a lot of credit for fighting, for the resiliency, for all those things. But like, I can't in good faith, watching it go 34-14, then go 41-14, I can't in good faith say Colorado played
half of football.
You don't, but
USC, if they were like that, should have put up more points in the second half.
To Shady's point,
they should have stopped them.
I agree, but to Shady's point, and I would agree with Shady's point in totality, once you are up 41-14, you're literally saying to yourself, just win.
But
not in college, you're not.
Oregon played. They was trying to make a point.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Where I feel like USC wasn't doing that.
Was they trying to make a point, or could they make a point that USC can't because USC's defense is not like
that? But USC 41-14, like to me, they made their point.
This is what I will say.
This is not the NFL. What James said is true. You have to win in style. So I don't know. I don't believe in USC's defense like that.
I don't either.
Their offense I believe in.
That 13, though. That 13.
He's different. He's like that.
He's even more different in person.
There's a reason that he's in that space. There's a reason he's in that space. What I'm saying on the Colorado's behalf, they did make adjustments and come out and look way better in the second half. I don't feel coming out of that game about Colorado the way I did coming out of that Oregon game. That wasn't an Oregon performance, and they didn't have their best players out there. They were without Shiloh and Travis Hunter. And I only believe that they would have won that game if Travis Hunter was out there. They did it, so it doesn't matter where we are right now. I'm saying that if they have next year, when they come in with the trenches fulfilled, which they did not have either. Caleb had 10 seconds back there to do whatever he wants. I don't care how good your DBs are. You can't be. He had all day, and Shiloh did not. Shador did not.
Right.
When that gets fixed, which I think they will fix it in this offseason with recruiting and shore up the trenches, this is going to be a much better team, and it's going to happen.
I agree with that. We were just talking about.
Go ahead.
We were just talking about this game, and when I watched this game, I'm the biggest Colorado fan there is at the desk, so I'm going for them. But I can't ignore what I've seen. Right, and then you as the game popped off, they up and down, they were scoring a lot of 3 and outs. And then in the second half, they did fight back. I just think that you're going to coach. I feel like when you up by that much, you're going to coach different.
I hear you, but not in college.
I'm going to show you. The last 2 weeks in the secondary specific, they missed Travis Hunter, right? And this week, it even showed up how much they missed Shiloh. Like we used to say, playing flag football, them boys is catching wide open touchdowns from USC with their flag still on. Like, it ain't nobody around.
Here's my problem, James. I just don't like the excuses. The reason I don't like the excuses is because Caleb Williams gets busy versus everybody.
No question.
Everybody. Caleb was going to get busy regardless of who was out there. He had 6 touchdown passes. Y'all, he had 4 in the first half. He had 248 passing yards in the first half. He was on pace for 508 touchdowns. So I'm just like, put Shiloh out there, put Travis out there. But again, like we talked about before the show, Zachariah Branch might be the most explosive receiver in all of college football, and second to Marvin Harrison.
That side of the ball. The defense still gave up 41 points. This is college. This is not the NFL. It isn't just win the game.
But it is.
It's literally not. You have to win with style points in college.
You only have to win with style points if it comes down to that. But in the Pac-12, as we all know, USC is going to play Utah. They will end up playing Oregon if Oregon is there. So if you go undefeated, it doesn't matter about style points. So
basically what you guys are saying is Lincoln Riley said, you know what? I ain't trying to put it on Prime like that. Like Oregon did, because that's basically what you said. Oregon had a point to prove. You kind of feel like Lincoln.
Hold on. So, good question. So, when you watched Oregon play Colorado, did you feel like that? They
felt like they was trying to hit style points.
At USC, I didn't feel like that.
No,
I didn't feel like that.
Like twofold. I think it's twofold. Number one, USC went to Colorado and won. Oregon was at home. So first things first is you won a game on the road versus a team that was incredibly hyped, and you still won it. Secondly, when you want to talk about style, Caleb Williams put up 6 TDs. To Joy's point, we all agree. We know USC's defense is suspect. We know they've been suspect. They were suspect last year. Caleb Williams has just historically been good enough to cover up how suspect they are. If they beat Utah last year, we're having a different conversation. Caleb Williams got hurt versus Utah in the Pac-12 championship game on our network. So I know their defense is suspect. But if USC runs the table, which you would anticipate they do, we're just going to look back and say they beat Colorado.
Do we anticipate they do? They dropped in the rankings, by the way.
I anticipate.
What are they right now?
They dropped a spot in the rankings. They're ranked 9th now.
I anticipate that USC
they need a couple style points.
I anticipate.
And those numbers are great for the Heisman, but we're not talking about Caleb Williams versus Shador. We're talking about Colorado versus USC.
But to his point, if they keep beating the guys in their conference, right? You talked about Utah, you talked about Oregon. They gonna beat them. Those are top ranked teams.
USC is a great team. I'm not saying that. I'm saying their defense isn't that good, and we were talking about where Colorado is. And
I said they're growing, right?
I think they're growing as well. I think if they were better in the trenches, and if Travis Hunter was playing. Forget better in the trenches. Those guys aren't coming. That's for next year. I think if Travis Hunter was playing, we might be having a different conversation. I believe that. And Shiloh, for that matter. And that has nothing to do with Caleb Williams balling out because he does that against everybody. That's great for the Heisman.
I don't think
we're having 2 different conversations.
I don't think Colorado at full strength is better than USC at full strength. Period. End of sentence. For Emmanuel Acho.
You know what? No, but hold on. That's true, though.
I just don't think that's the case.
Because this team right now that Coach Prime has, they're not more talented than USC.
But that doesn't mean they couldn't have still lost this game.
But they will be. They will be better, I think, going in the future. But right now, they're not. No, they're not. I don't think with them. I don't care who plays. When I watch that game,
You've seen the best player in college football, and that's hard to go to pass up.
But he's that. But Caleb Williams is that good. I don't have to go with him. I go on the other side. He is that good. We ain't like he ain't.
He's great.
Yo, I will say this. Before, I always liked Caleb Williams because I thought he was a hell of a player. But I'm not really. Since I've been on TV, I watch more college than I know what I'm talking about. But before that, I didn't really know much about Caleb Williams. I knew who he was. When I watched him in person, ooh, so he's a different boy, and I don't care who's on that field. He was that much better than everybody else on the field.
That's why. And that was obvious. Why you feel like that.
Passes, even small things. The tackle was getting beat, right? He seen the tackle beat. What did he do? He moves up
and
enough,
then what?
And then he backs up. I'm like, that's pros even doing that.
Like, what do you think Georgia thinks about watching that USC game?
Georgia's probably sitting there saying, oh, we got some for them boys. Yeah. But remember, you got to ask yourself the same question. What's USC think about watching Georgia struggle? Because Georgia was in a dog.
And they have been the last couple weeks. They have been.
Like versus Georgia,
that's
South Carolina.
Yeah.
Georgia versus Auburn.
You think USC is ready to win a national championship after this weekend?
That's not the conversation. That's not the conversation.
To me, because we're talking about how close, how far away Colorado is from USC.
I would say, when I think about it, I would say USC has just as good a shot as anybody else because everybody got deficiencies.
Wait, why'd you say that? I'm sorry. Why'd you say that, though?
Because what we're talking about is Colorado. What does this loss mean for Colorado?
Because my thing is...
And I think with the trenches shored up and Colorado being healthy, they're not that far away from USC that next year that you think is a contender this year for national championship.
I can buy that, but what I'm going to say is, like, if you look at all the top dogs, the last 2 weeks, they all been in dog fights. Yeah. So now we're not going to say, oh... Man, is Auburn so close to Georgia because they had a good game?
Notre Dame almost lost to Duke.
Yeah. That's my point. We can't say because
people playing against.
Yeah, you can't say because it's a close game that how close are this team? This is a close game. I don't mean they're a close team.
I love that Colorado elicits so much passion because this is a great conversation.
I love them boys. I gotta be honest.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.